What's up, guys? Sam Shaw from Wall Street Mastermind. I'm here today with another client interview for you guys. Today I have my client Paul on with us. Paul is currently an auditor working in accounting, although not for much longer because obviously we helped him make the switch over to investment banking. So I know a lot of you guys out there are, in a similar situation as Paul. Maybe you want to work in investment banking, but you didn't do it right away out of college, and now you're in another job and you're kind of trying to figure out like, hey, is this even still possible? And so just wanted to get Paul to come on here and talk to you guys today a little bit about his own experience going through the process. So Paul, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Sam.
So if you could maybe just start by introducing yourself a little bit and giving people some background and context on kind of yourself and who you are and what's your profile and what was your situation, I guess, going back to the beginning.
Sure. So yeah, like Sam said, my name's Paul. So I'm originally from South Florida. Ended up going to University of Central Florida for my undergrad. Majored in accounting and finance there. And, I did really well in my classes, got into the right clubs and whatnot. But so my school, UCF, placed, specifically the College of Business, placed pretty high emphasis on securing a role at a Big Four firm, specifically EY, KPMG, PwC, Deloitte. So that's kind of the route I went. I knew at UCF I wanted to do a role more towards related to finance/investment banking. But with that being said, there wasn't much guidance to do that. Here and there were a couple people, but it really wasn't common. So I kind of took the route of accounting. They made it seem, if you could get a Big Four firm, a Big Four offer out of the College of Business, you're set. And, that's what I did. And, I enjoyed my time in public accounting, but I knew like long-term for my career, it just wasn't what I wanted to do long-term. So yeah.
Got it. So how long were you kind of working at a Big Four for, or how long have you been?
Yeah. So I was there for 2 years.
Wow.
And I would say about just under a year in, I knew, this is not what I see myself doing long term. So that's kind of when I started to, doing my own due diligence, like seeing what I want to do. And I discovered, hey, like investment banking is a realistic thing I can do. I had the grades, I feel like I had the interpersonal skills,
Yeah.
So, I did my own research, typical Wall Street oasis, mergers and acquisitions, like all that good stuff. But, like Sam always says, there's like tons and tons and tons of information out there. And it's like conflicting information. And it's like, what do I do,
Yeah.
So ended up reaching out to someone that I saw on LinkedIn who actually worked at KPMG and made a move into investment banking. Messaged him and basically asked him, hey man, we have a similar background. Wondering if you'd be open to chat. And he, gave me a brief overview of how he did it. And he said, hey, I wouldn't be able to do it without this guy named Sam from Wall Street Mastermind. He gave me your contact information and,
Yep.
that's where we're at now.
Right?
Brandon. Yeah. Brandon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's funny. You guys are like, your background is almost like identical clones of each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, for those of you who are listening, like you might have heard the other interview from maybe a year ago or so, where Brandon did the exact same thing. Started out in audit at KPMG for maybe a year. Was doing a good job, but didn't really see himself doing it for the long term, and then kind of found me, and then we helped him ladder over to investment bank. So, but that's awesome. That's like very serendipitous, and that you found him and then found us.
Yeah.
What would you say? Like, because you said, hey, about just under a year in, you knew that you didn't really see yourself doing this long term.
Yep.
And you started looking for something else. Like, what is it that you weren't getting from your current job and then like, what is it that you're looking to get from, your new job, or basically by going into investment banking?
Yeah. So I would say the number one biggest thing that I feel like I wasn't getting, this wasn't fulfilling to me. I kind of felt like I hit a point where, um, I felt like I couldn't, I always got top performance reviews. Everyone said they enjoyed working with me, when it came down to, the compensation discussion end of the year. I think I ranked pretty well and all that stuff. So performance was no issue. But in terms of, just like being challenged and growth, I felt like I kind of hit a plateau where I didn't see myself. I didn't feel like I needed to like do much more, to be successful, to be more successful. Because like in Big Four audit, the way it works, it's like there's not much incentive to perform well. I don't want to like speak poorly or whatnot, but I feel like specifically Big Four audit, the marginal difference between being a high performer and a low performer, it's pretty minimal. So I know, and
Like
I
on the
was
compensation side, basically.
compensation, yeah, compensation side. I mean, yeah, comp in terms of, yeah, I guess, yeah, compensation, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I felt like I wasn't being challenged enough. And I was putting in the long hours. Typical investment banking might not be as much as investment banking, but I was putting in those hours. And the comp wasn't there. And at the end of the day, I really wasn't interested in the stuff. It came naturally to me, but it just wasn't exciting. It didn't really, I wasn't like waking up, jumping out of bed, and like, let's do this audit. I feel like I'd much be willing to jump out of bed and like be like, hey, let's try to close this deal, or let's finish this model, or let's get this memo out to the client. So yeah.
I don't know if you actually had coworkers at your accounting firm that actually jumped out of bed excited to do audit. I feel
Probably not. You have to
I feel
probably
like
be
I know a lot of
psychic.
accountants, and I've never really ever heard any of them say like, "Oh, my job is so exciting" or whatever.
No, I don't think so.
Got it. So it's basically like, hey, look, if you're gonna work in a job, you gotta enjoy it. You gotta feel fulfilled,
Right.
or you gotta be paid well. Um,
Hmm.
I know a lot of people who get paid really, really well to do a job that they don't particularly enjoy, but they tolerate it because they get paid well. Um,
Right.
but if you don't have either of those, then it's kind of like, well, then what am I doing, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Got it.
Exactly. Hmm.
Okay, makes sense, man. So obviously you did your research. You reached out. You found Brandon on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
He did the exact same thing you were trying to do. Then he told you about Wall Street Mastermind. So
Yeah.
that's how we got hooked up. And then
Yep.
you booked a call. We jumped on. We talked about your
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
And kind of like take us through like kind of the decision you had to make at that point, on like whether or not to work with us and join our program,
Hmm.
like that. Like what ultimately, like, did you have any? I'm sure you were like kind of wondering, like, oh, is this gonna work? Like, what?
Yeah.
This is an investment, right? Like, it's not like
Hmm.
working with us, is like not everyone chooses to do it, right?
Right. Yeah. Of course.
So
Yep.
what were you what was kind of going through your head, and like what ultimately made you? Obviously, you decided to hop in, but like what ultimately helped you make that decision to kind of work with us?
Yep. So I remember we had the strategy call. And I felt like just that call alone, I felt like I gained a lot of value from that. Whatever question, like initial questions I have, I felt like you just knew pretty much, all the questions. Um, I was a little hesitant, but at the same time, like, I think I thought about it like every day, like, hey, if I could choose to, not go this route and, be completely lost in terms of how to, format my resume or my cover letter or best practices, reaching out to people, and, just technicals and behaviorals and, all that good stuff. Or, I could choose to join the program and, have it all laid out to me, very clearly. To me, I think, you discuss how there's like typically in investment banking, I don't know the exact number, like there's like $1 million payoff, I think, of becoming, if you go into banking. to me, I was like, I felt like it was the value to that was more than just like a dollar number. It was more of just wanting to be in a career where I feel like I will, just genuinely be happy. So, I thought of it as like, hey, I could not do it and then probably not get the offer because, coming from a Big Four audit background, like it's not a typical move. It's a difficult move to make. Like, it took a lot of work. And honestly, I don't think I could have been able to navigate the waters without, your guidance. So yeah.
Yeah, got it. So basically, you just kind of looked at the pros and cons, and you're like, hey, I'm at a crossroads. I can go left or go right. If I go
Right.
left, like basically just I'll probably never figure this out on my own, and I just stay in the status quo, keep doing audit in the job that I'm not fulfilled by and not really making the money that I want to make.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
I can like kind of take a chance and invest in myself and get the help that I need. And then if it pays off, sure, like monetarily, like you said, over the lifetime of your career, you probably just increase your lifetime earnings by at least 7 figures over time. But,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's not even about that for you. It's like you said earlier, being able to jump out of bed in the morning and actually look forward to what you have to do that day.
Yeah.
Which affects your overall just satisfaction with life in general, I guess.
Right. And, and to add to that too, I would say, even if I, went through the program and I didn't get the offer, at least like I know I gave it my all, and also, putting, my own money on the line, like I have some skin in the game too. So, it kept me accountable in terms of like, hey, I put X amount of dollars down, like now this is real. It's real now.
Yeah.
So,
and you had to think about that, right? Because it was like a significant, it wasn't like chump change for you. It was like,
no, but when you're talking about like the rest of your life here, it's, later in life, it'll hopefully be chump change.
Exactly. No, I mean, that's exactly what it is. Because I mean, look, like, I assume you're getting paid more at your new firm.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, we don't have to give like exact numbers, but like if you don't want, or you can if you want to, or you don't have to. But can we tell people at least like in percentage terms, what is the increase on your compensation just by making this move?
I would say it's a little less than double.
Little less than double. Okay.
Yeah.
So almost 2x.
Almost 2x, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean,
not quite 2x, but close. Yeah. But it could be more, depending on like bonuses and performance.
Depending on bonus. Right.
Yeah.
So it really depends on bonus, but even like just the base alone was a significant increase, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I always tell people is like, your starting point for how much money you make at the beginning of your career doesn't really just affect like, those 1 or 2 years. It's actually like the slope of your earnings trajectory. You're making the slope steeper, right? And so
exactly,
like, over time, like even if we compound everything, if we say, oh, my income is going to grow at just 5% a year for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You do the math. Like if you double your starting point and you grow 5% every year, that gap becomes very, very big 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road.
Yep.
So that's what a lot of people don't think about. But so you understood that. So you hopped in the program. And then like, once you hopped in, like, what do we actually help you with? Like, was it kind of what you expected? Because I don't know what Brandon told you exactly, but was it what you expected or was it pretty different? Or like, what do we do with you? And like, how helpful was it actually?
Well, right off the bat, it was, extremely helpful. Like I remember the first thing we did was get the base done, the resume, the cover letter, and the LinkedIn. I think that was just, for me, I felt like that was the most important thing because I felt like I could, as long as they gave me the chance, if they gave me an interview, like I feel like I could perform. But I felt like I was going to get, well, and I did, I don't want to say discriminated against, but not given the attention I felt like it deserved because I didn't have the traditional background coming from like another banking role or right out of undergrad from a target school.
Yep.
So, just you being able to optimize my resume, my cover letter, reviewing my LinkedIn, I think that was huge for me. And then another thing that I think was almost as important, if not more, would be just that I had the opportunity to just like send you a message like something small, like, hey, like, COVID's going on. Should I shake their hand? Like, hey, how should I, email, I had like 2 interviews at a time. How should I like email them? Like little things like that, like went a long way without having to, do it and then like kind of be unsure about it or, because it was all, everything was new to me. So having someone like in my corner that like been there, done it, and like seen it a million times, like that's, priceless in itself. So
basically having someone like us in your corner or in your back pocket, and then like on demand, like, or on speed dial, is like anytime a question pops up in your head, it's like, oh, I don't know what to do in this situation, or
exactly, yeah,
email and I don't know how to respond.
yeah,
Shoot it over to Sam and see what he thinks about it.
Exactly, yeah, that's huge. Honestly, that's like, because a lot of people get like caught up in that stuff. So, me, potentially me included, but I had you to, help me navigate that stuff.
Whereas if you didn't, I guess what you would have done is that maybe every time you had a question like that, every little thing that comes up, you might go on Google and try to answer.
Or get the wrong answer, or do it myself and like hope I got it right.
Right. Yep. So then, as you started going through this process, like we fixed up your application materials, like obviously I'm sure you had to like, do a bunch of networking as well, but like, how was the process of like actually getting selected for these interviews? Like, how were you able to make that happen?
So it took a lot of reaching out. I primarily use LinkedIn, messaging people on LinkedIn. I set all the alerts like on Google Jobs and LinkedIn. I found LinkedIn really my best tool. So, I preloaded my resume on LinkedIn so you could do whenever those jobs have the easy apply, anything that came up as investment banking analyst, investment banking associate, I got a notification. So always being on top of that. If there's someone I could reach out to on those, with those companies, I did that as well. So just really just being like, always ready to react to the right opportunity. And then like when the opportunity came, I immediately reached out to you and asked for my best course of action. Like, hey, what's the game plan?
Yeah. So how, had you ever networked with bankers before that?
I did, but I didn't get the best, the best responses back.
Was there like a difference between how you used to network and then like how you network this time around? Like, what did you experience?
I mean, so there was, I got responses back, but not the type of responses I got back using your templates and your ways of going about it. And, you helped me kind of frame my background to like kind of explain it where, I acknowledge that I have a non-traditional background, but like, this is what I want to do. So you kind of like help me do with that end of it. But yeah, I would say the responses from people were definitely more. I heard back from more people after having a better idea of what I'm doing.
Got it. So you got more response rates. Your conversations went better. Which ultimately, I guess, for someone like you with a non-traditional background, really, that's what it's about. Like, you need some of these people to meet you, talk to you, like you,
exactly,
willing to refer you, and that's how you get these interviews, right?
Yep.
Got it. So once you got this interview, like, what did the preparation process look like, or how did you go about it?
So it was a lot of interviews. I think it was like five interviews. It was 5 interviews. almost all of them were Zoom interviews because of coronavirus. And then the last one actually did have me come into the office. For the most part, they were behavioral. Also just kind of just getting to know me. And then there were some minimal technical stuff that I felt like I was comfortable with answering. But yeah, it was like, I think it was like a week and a half process. I had an interview almost every day or every other day. So, and they were looking to bring someone on quick too. So they knew they were interested in me from the beginning, and like interview after interview after interview, got to meet like pretty much the whole team. And yeah, they ended up giving me the offer.
Got it. How did you, and was the interview mostly behavioral, technicals, a mix of both?
Yeah.
What was the experience there?
It was mostly behavioral. Like I said, there was some minor technical things. But also, since I learned the technical stuff from Wall Street Mastermind, like even if they didn't ask me technical stuff, I kind of like I brought it up, or like I would kind of like discuss, like when I was talking about my background, how I've done some modeling in my audit role, I'd explain to them how a DCF works, even if they didn't ask me. So I think that also helped as well. How the trading comparables work as well. So so they didn't like
part of it you think is like because you were proactively demonstrating that you're comfortable with these concepts, that
right,
maybe that part of the reason why they didn't feel as much of a need to just like really grow you on it.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing, they said they were actually going to give me a project, like a take-home project. They never gave me a specific of what it was, but I ended up not getting it. So I don't know if that was because they were comfortable with my technical skills, or because they're just like, hey, he's good, but I ended up not getting it. But, like you said, I took the initiative, and, even though they didn't outright say like, hey, like walk me through a DCF, like I still did it.
Yeah. So most of the stuff that you learn in the program on the technical, because you majored in accounting and finance in college, right?
Yeah.
So was this like all stuff that you pretty much already knew, or like did you actually learn some new things?
No, it's not. I wouldn't say it wasn't stuff I already knew. It was stuff that I could easily learn because I had the foundation of an accounting and finance background. But like at UCF, like we take a financial models class, but it's nothing like, I mean, we might do these, but it's not like, it's not geared towards investment banking. I was familiar with all the terms and was able to learn it quickly. But I wouldn't say it was like knowledge I already had by any means.
Got it. So, cause like, I mean, that's a really common question we get. A lot of people think like, hey, I've already taken an accounting class, or I've already taken a corporate finance class in school, so probably set, right? But kind of like you said, a lot of those classes in school, the problem is like they teach you just accounting from like the accounting standpoint, or like just like corporate finance, but like they're not assuming that, hey, everyone who takes this class wants to go into investment banking, so they're not teaching it to you through that level.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I mean, I can't speak for other schools, but I know my school in particular, it's not like a hot investment banking school. So, maybe that's why that they don't really teach it with an investment banking lens or perspective or approach or whatnot. But yeah. And then I also have my CPA license as well. And, having that as a foundation was helpful as well.
Yeah. Got it. So basically though, you felt like even just by going through the technical training in our program, you kind of felt like you had everything you needed to go into that interview with.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yep. 100%.
What about on the behavioral side? Like on the behavioral side, what was the biggest challenge that you feel like we were able to help you with? Is it I'm guessing for someone with your profile, it's primarily like, hey, how to tell the story of why you didn't go into banking in the first place, and why do you want to go from, audit to something so different all of a sudden? Was that
definitely. That's what I was going to say. So the number one thing was just being able to tell my story and frame it in a way where banking makes sense as the right move. Being able to say, hey, I have this audit background, but I see myself long-term in an investment banking role. It's more in alignment with my personality. It's just what I see myself doing with my career. So you helped me, being able to answer that question, and then with any, counterpoints that came up with it.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool, man. And so ultimately, in our last few minutes here, like, what was the outcome of this whole process for you, I guess? Like, what were you able to get in the end, or whatever you're willing to or comfortable sharing?
What do you mean, like
what kind of offer did you end up with? Was it like, what
Okay,
kind
yeah.
of bank are you going to?
So, yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So, I got offered an investment banking associate role at a regional boutique in Tampa, Florida.
Which is where
I'm from South Florida. Currently live in Orlando, but I'm gonna be moving to Tampa next couple days here.
got it. Okay. And what kind of industry do they focus on? Do you know?
I think they're pretty much generalists. I think they have a little bit of a emphasis on tech, but they're not only tech. They do other stuff as well.
Got it. Okay, that's awesome. Um, and I guess obviously you're pretty happy about that, but
Mm-hmm.
what's your plan going forward? Like, I guess you're gonna give this investment banking thing a try, and then
Yep.
see where that takes you, or like, is your plan to kind of like stay in banking for the long haul, or
Mm-hmm.
don't
Yeah.
really know yet?
So short-term plan, put my head down and grind, and prove that I'm an asset to the team, and then I'll be like an integral, play an integral role in the team and deal execution in general, and also need to do the SIE exam and I think it's the Series 79, or is it Series 79? Yeah. So that's short term, and then long term, I honestly don't know. I could see myself, staying with this company a long time, or this firm for a long time. I really like the guys there. Seems like it's a good fit. So, I don't like to plan too far out there, because you never really know what's going to happen. I feel like as long as you put in the hard work in the short term, like everything else will fall into place. So
Yeah,
honestly, it's just grind it out.
yeah, for sure.
That's the plan.
For sure. That's awesome. Last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
For people out there who are listening to this interview, maybe
Mm-hmm.
because they're in a similar situation as you, where
Yep.
they're in a maybe somewhat tangentially related field, like in accounting or somewhere in finance, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
quite banking, and they know that what they really want to do is banking.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're not really sure how to get there, or like, if it's even possible. Like, what's something that you wish someone would have told you, maybe like just say even a year ago when you were in their spot? Like, what's something that if you had known this, like, it would have helped you tremendously? Like, do you have any
Yeah.
advice for people like that?
Yeah. I would say as soon as you know what you want to do, whether it be from talking to other people, doing your own due diligence, or working with other counterparties on whatever job you're on, start like now. It's a process, because if you decide I want to do banking, it's not impossible, but it takes time for everything to happen. You need to you need to work on your resume, your cover letter, LinkedIn, and then make sure you brush up on your technicals, or comfortable with your behaviorals, and start reaching out to people as soon as possible, to get the ball rolling. Because the longer you wait, the more difficult it is. That's kind of also, I was in that position as well, where I'm 3 to 4 years out of school. So, the longer you wait, traditionally it's more difficult unless, you go the MBA route.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say just start early. And, if you're listening to this and you're on the fence about, moving forward with Sam, I would say at least take the strategy session. Because me personally, even if you don't move forward with that, like, you could get a lot of value from that, just, asking him any questions that he can answer, in that whatever hour slot it is. But yeah, act now rather than later, because there's only so much time you have.
Yep. No, that's really, really good advice, man. I mean,
Yeah.
um, with like this type of lateral move, I tell people it's like the longer you've been out of school, the more you kind of get pigeonholed into whatever your current job is, right? Because people
Exactly.
start seeing you
Exactly.
more and more as an accountant or
Like you
whatever it
become
is
too
that you do.
specialized, and it's more difficult for you to, I guess, unlearn your old ways or whatnot.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And that's
so
just
yeah,
like that's why it's like you kind of if you know in your heart like you have this feeling that hey something's not right about the path that I'm on and this is not really where I see myself long term, don't put
yeah,
it off because like the longer you put
exactly.
it off, the more likely it is that you'll be stuck there and then you're gonna end up as one of those guys. We all know some adults or like middle aged people who are pretty miserable in their jobs, but they're just stuck there because they've been in it for so long, right? And then
Right.
before you know it, you're going to become one of those guys, um,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's a miserable way
Exactly.
to live because your happiness with work and your happiness with your career and how fulfilled you are there um, really trickles down to all other aspects of your life, right? Like you
Hmm.
come home from work and you see, whether it's your significant other or maybe if you're married, your wife, your kids, whatever, and like it affects you, right? It affects your relationship, affects your health,
Yep.
all sorts of
Hmm.
things, right? So there are very few things that are more important than like really finding a job that you're satisfied with. So
Yep. Yep.
look, if you guys have that sense of urgency, where it's like, hey, you know that you're currently not in a role that's right for you, and you know you want to make that move as soon as possible, meaning you don't want to spend all this time doing a bunch of trial and error and figuring stuff out on your own, and you just want to like take the fastest and most efficient route of getting there, then that's how we can help you, right? So, like Paul kind of said, I would encourage you guys to book a strategy session with us. A free strategy session. We hop on, either myself or someone on my team who's been trained by me. We'll talk to you about your situation and just understand kind of what your goals are and also what challenges you're currently having. And um, we'll give you our best honest assessment on
Hmm.
what we think you should do in your situation. Like sometimes, look, I'm not saying everybody can lateral into banking. Right? Like sometimes
Hmm.
we talk to clients who schedule calls with us, and we're like, you know what? To be honest, like you probably need to gonna go back to you're gonna have to go back to business school if you want to do
Hmm.
this, right? And I know Paul, you
Right.
and I, we also discussed that as an option, but of course, like to you, that was an unfair option, right? But for you,
Yeah.
like we gave you the assessment that hey, it can absolutely be done, especially because we've seen people like Brandon do it before you,
Hmm.
and it turned out to be true, right? So bottom line is, you just don't know, but you just don't know what's possible uh, unless you've actually like been through this process before. And so like talk to us and we'll do our best to help you. Either way, like whether that means like, you working with us or maybe it doesn't. And you just like take what we tell you on the strategy session and you go implement it on your own.
Hmm.
But either way, our goal is to give you as much value as possible just in that first hour. Okay. So
Right.
for those of you that are interested in doing that, you can go to the website to schedule a call. It's www.wallstreetmastermind.com/apply. The street is abbreviated to ST, so it's stmastermind.com/apply. And like I said, we'll be happy to hop on with you and do everything we can to help you. So with that said, Paul, I really want to thank you again for just taking the time to talk to us today, and congrats again on uh, basically accomplishing your goal of making this move that a lot of people want to do probably
Hmm.
when they're in accounting, but most people aren't able to do it. But you made it happen.
Right.
Obviously, you have to work super hard for it, and so you deserve everything. And
Hmm.
we look forward to just staying in touch with you and seeing all the success that's ahead of you.
Definitely. Definitely. Thanks again, Sam. Really appreciate everything on your end too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was a pleasure working with you.
You too.
Guys, that'll be it for today. And thank you guys for tuning in. And then we'll be back again in the near future with more of these client interviews for you guys. All right. Talk soon. Bye.